Hi, I'm Catherine Pryor, author of Home is Calling, The Journey of the Monarch Butterfly.
And I'm Ellie Peterson. I'm the illustrator of Home is Calling, The Journey of the Monarch Butterfly.
We're excited to share that our book won the Charlotte and Wilbur Award from the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators.
This awesome award recognizes books that demonstrate compassion for animals, and we can't wait to share the book with you today. Now, Catherine, you mentioned that you're the author of this story. What does it mean to be the author of a book?
Being an author means that I came up with the idea for the story and wrote the words, but I'm not great at drawing. And because I write picture books, my stories can't become books without an illustrator, which is one of many reasons I'm so glad we're friends. You both write and illustrate picture books. Can you tell us a little bit about being an illustrator?
Yeah, the illustrator is the person who draws and colors the pictures that are inside the book. And so an illustrator has to make sure that the pictures are depicting what the words are saying, and sometimes some things that are not even in the words, like feelings and emotions.
Every book starts with an idea. There are a few ways I get ideas as an author. I get ideas from personal experience, from my imagination or dreams, or because someone mentions an interesting fact and I want to learn more about it. With Home is Calling, someone asked me if I'd ever thought about doing a book about monarch butterflies. I hadn't, but it sounded interesting, so I started researching. I read articles, I checked out books from the library, I watched documentaries and YouTube videos. I did so much research about monarch butterflies that I even started to have dreams where I was a butterfly. The more I learned, the more I wanted to write this book. I learned that eastern monarchs travel thousands of miles between central Mexico and the northern United States and southern Canada. It takes 4 generations of the monarchs traveling north in the spring for them to reach their destinations. But the monarchs flying south travel all the way to Mexico in 1 generation. These monarchs are traveling to places they've never been before, yet they end up traveling the same routes again and again. I read tons of old newspaper articles about monarchs returning to the exact trees year after year, even though they were several generations removed from whatever relative would have visited that tree last. In my research, I also learned that migratory monarch populations have dropped something like 80% since the 1990s and were recently listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. I wanted to write a book that would highlight their amazing journey while also calling attention to all the things threatening their survival. I wrote a draft of the book from the perspective of the butterfly to make it feel like the reader was on an adventure with them. I shared the draft of the book with a group of writer friends who gave me some ideas on how to make it better. Then I revised and I revised to try to make it good enough that someone would want to publish it. Writers don't usually get to pick illustrators when they're working on a book, but our situation is a little different. I first met Ellie when we worked on a book about bumblebees together. We lived pretty close to each other, so we were able to meet to share ideas and ended up becoming friends. She happened to ask me what I was working on, and when I told her about my monarch project, she said, "I want to illustrate that." So we ended up working on the book together.
Since this story tells a lot about the real lives of monarch butterflies, I wanted them to look pretty realistic, but also artistic. So I spent a lot of time researching and even taking pictures of monarch butterflies. And I even bought some plastic butterflies like this that I could shape in different ways as a model for my drawings. And then I actually illustrated the butterflies digitally on my iPad. As you can see, when I am drawing on my iPad, I usually start with a sketch, and I like it to be really rough. I'm not focusing too much on details here. I'm just trying to make sure I have the right shape of the body, the pattern for the wings, the positioning that I want. As you can see here, I start adding a little bit more detail as I go. You'll see here I'm not too happy with the shape of the lower wing, so I've actually used some of the digital tools to reshape the wings and make them a little fuller. Now I'm going to start outlining the body of the monarch with a darker colored pen. Once the body is outlined, I'm ready to start adding in color. And the way that I color is usually by over-coloring and then erasing where I don't want the color. You can see here I have things set a little bit lighter so I can still see the lines through that dark black color for the monarch wings. And now I am erasing from the areas where I'm going to be adding some brighter color to the monarch wings. All right, now I'm ready to fill in some of that color. So I start with that beautiful bright orange that we see on monarchs, and I'm adding some highlights with a lighter yellow, some white, and then coming in with that darker orange and blending everything together. Again, I'm not too focused on being nice and neat and tidy here. I know that the black is going to go over it and make that look really nice and sharp. Now I can add the other setting details, and in this case I have a beautiful purple cone flower that this monarch butterfly is visiting. Overcoloring the petals a little bit, adding in some shadow, and soon I will be removing the color from where I don't want it to be. Can't forget the antenna, and now we're done. Catherine, would you like to learn to draw a butterfly with me?
I would love to.
Would you all like to learn how to draw a butterfly as well? Okay, all you're gonna need are a couple pieces of cardboard. These are just left over from some drawing pads or notebooks. We will each need just a regular piece of paper and a couple pencils. There's one for you and one for me, and maybe some fine tip black markers as well. And finally, some colored pencils or crayons, whatever you want to color with. The way I'm going to get started is by actually folding my paper in half. Butterflies are symmetrical. Their left side looks exactly like their right side, or mostly like their right side. And so we want to make a symmetrical butterfly as well. And to do that, we're going to start by taking the right edge of our paper and folding it over to this left side, making sure that the edges match up pretty well. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to press pretty firmly. I'm going to go down about 3 fingers from the top of the page, and I'm going to put a little backwards C shape like this near that folded edge. Now I'm going to make the mid body of my butterfly. So I'm going to make a longer C shape like this. This is the thorax, and finally the abdomen. I'm going to do kind of a longer one here now that gets a little skinnier at the bottom. Okay, again, I'm pressing pretty firmly here so that it can be a mark that is felt all the way through the paper. Now here at the top, I'm going to start my pencil about here, just a little bit from the folded edge, and I'm going to make an upside down J shape. Here we go. There we go. That's going to be an antenna, right? That's right. Let's make an eye while we're working on the head. I'm going to make a nice oval here, and then a dot inside for the eye. Obviously, we're going to need some wings. And so the way that we're going to do the wings is we're going to actually open up our hand, our left hand, and we're going to make an L shape. So it looks like an L from my side, an L shape. And I'm going to set my hand on my paper so that this part right between my forefinger, my index finger, and my thumb, the web of my hand, is near the middle of the butterfly like this. And I'm going to make now an L shape tracing my hand. I'm going to do this lightly at first. And then you might be able to see that nice little L shape. I'm going to darken it in now with my pencil. Make a line up here and make a line down there. So now we have the start of the wings, and we need to do the outer edge of the wings. And I'm going to start making a backwards 3 where the top curve is much larger than the bottom curve. I will start here and I will finish here. Ready? Here we go. Ooh, my paper's lifting a little bit. In and the bottom. There we go. I'm going to go back over that just to make sure that I pressed hard enough that it goes all the way through. I love it. Okay, now we have our wing. That's fabulous. Good job. How is yours looking? Hopefully great. Okay, let's now start making some of the details for the butterfly. I'm going to add all sorts of shapes, and you can do whatever you like here. Hearts, stars, teardrops, rainbows, whatever you want to create, you are welcome to create. I'm going to make some nice teardrop shapes here and here, and maybe some ovals along this area. I might even make, let's see here, maybe a heart shape, a long heart shape here. And I'm going to do a similar thing on the bottom. Some teardrop shapes, and maybe some ovals. And maybe I'll do some hearts here as well. Like this. All right, I think I need one more teardrop right here just to fill that space. And how's yours coming along? It's looking so good, right? How's yours looking? Hopefully really nicely. Okay, we're gonna open our paper up now. And you should see an impression on the other side. So you can even feel it a little bit. You can feel where that pencil mark is raised. And now you have something that you can trace so that your butterfly looks symmetrical on both sides. So let's go ahead and trace our butterfly. Okay. The other side of the head and the eyeball. Other side of the body. Here's the thorax. And now I'm going to add that top wing and the bottom wing like this. And I'm going to trace all of my teardrop shapes as well. Can I see them well enough? Oh, pretty well. I think well enough to make this look pretty darn close. There we go. I see my ovals up here. They might not be exactly the same on the right and the left, and it would be kind of fun to try to spot the differences between them. And now some heart shapes as well. Oh, don't forget the antenna. Oh my goodness. How would our poor butterfly be able to sense their way through the world? There we go. We can maybe add some stripes to the midsection of the butterfly's body. Oh, I want to make this continue all the way through here, like that. And now we are ready to add some color. Monarch butterflies are, of course, orange and white and yellow and black, but you can make your butterfly any color that you want it to be. So grab your colored pencils and get to work. I might grab some beautiful lavender here. I am loving the colors of this butterfly. It is so adorable. Last thing to do is to outline with a black pen to make some of those designs really pop. Here we go. Okay, Catherine, are you finished with your outlining?
I am. Even I could do that.
Yeah, let's take a look at these gorgeous butterflies. They look fabulous. We have some space for an activity later, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and set these aside. Catherine, I've shown you how to create a beautiful butterfly, but I'm really curious how you create beautiful words on the page. Can you show us how we could write an engaging story like you did?
When I was writing Home is Calling, I paid really close attention to the verbs in my story. You may already know that verbs are action words. Run, jump, swim. They describe the action happening in a sentence. Verbs are very important because using interesting verbs makes a sentence more interesting to read. For example, I could write, I ran very quickly down the road. Or I could write, I sprinted down the road. Both describe the same action, running, but sprinted describes how you ran in fewer words and gives the reader a sense of what it feels like to run quickly. So after I wrote my first draft of Home is Calling, I took out a pen and circled every single verb in the manuscript. I didn't want any boring verbs. And I also didn't want to use the same verb too often, which meant I had to come up with a lot of verbs that meant the same thing as flying, because the butterflies do a lot of flying in the book. Yes, butterflies fly, but there are more interesting ways to say that. To come up with the right verbs, I watched videos, I checked a thesaurus, and most importantly, I used my imagination, which I'd like to invite you to do with me now. Close your eyes and imagine you're a butterfly. Spread your wings and really feel what it's like to fly. I may sway, dip, or glide. Really feel the wind on your wings and imagine what it's like to be such a tiny creature floating across a continent, the freedom and the vulnerability. If a strong gust of wind comes by, what could happen? You could get knocked off course, blown through the air in the wrong direction. Then imagine what it feels like to catch the perfect breeze and soar. All right, butterflies, open your eyes and write down 4 verbs that aren't fly to describe what it feels like using your wings. And if you need a piece of paper, you can always use your beautiful butterfly from our last exercise. Ellie, what verbs did you write?
I wrote float, dive, carry, and rise.
Nice.
Thanks for that. I love my new verbs. It's possible that monarch butterflies have magnetic particles in their bodies and that these particles align with the Earth's magnetic field, helping the monarchs to instinctively orient themselves.
You know what else is cool?
What's that?
In my research, I read that butterflies might also be able to use the sun's light to help them know which direction to migrate.
Wow, like a sun's compass.
Exactly.
You know, monarch butterflies are such amazing creatures. It's really sad that so many monarchs are dying each year due to habitat loss and pesticides and climate change.
It really is. Flowering weeds are important to all pollinators, but there's one in particular that's very important to monarchs called milkweed. It's the only food monarch caterpillars eat, so it's where adult monarchs lay their eggs. But pesticides have been wiping out milkweed and other flowering weeds, so the monarchs don't always have enough food on their journey. We also know that global climate change is causing unpredictable weather patterns and more extreme weather that makes the monarch's journey that much more dangerous.
Is there anything that we can do to help? These sound like big problems.
We can all help. If you live in an area with monarchs, plant some milkweed to help them find food on their journey. A lot of schools plant milkweed in their gardens to become monarch way stations. You can ask your town or city council to stop using pesticides in local parks. Did you know there's even a highway across 6 states that is planted with wildflowers and milkweed to create food sources for butterflies?
Wow, really?
When people work together, we can come up with all sorts of creative solutions to big problems. If you'd like more information on how to help monarchs and other pollinators, check out the Get Involved section in the back of Home is Calling.
Thanks for watching.